All right, Shalom Rastafari. I want to speak on NIBIRU, and the connection with the star, what's known from our Ethiopic sources as the star of doom and gloom, or the Kokav in the Hebrew, Bamarinya, the Kokeb, which is the star of the 8th millennium. From Ethiopic sources, it's known as the star of the 8th millennium. Now, this is a picture right here. This is a very interesting picture, and we're going to use this particular picture to describe Nibiru. Now, this is very interesting. If you look at this particular image. Now, when you look through ancient Egypt sources, you find some very interesting correspondences. So we're going to speak on Aaron and the golden calf as well in this particular presentation. Now, notice, if you will, as we point out right here, notice, if you will, the so-called horns of the bull. Now, of course, first of all, let's deal with some of the disinformation, the misinformation, because we have to get over the disinformation, the misinformation, to get to a more accurate interpretation of the Bible and of these symbols. And now with more technology, and we know that certain things are happening in the heavens, there are certain heavenly signs that are being recorded and witnessed and verifiable. We want to put this together as best as we can. So we're going to, first of all, let's go to the scriptures. Let's go to chapter 32 of the book of Exodus. Now, if you recall, that was the golden calf, what's known as the golden calf, or Yawerk Tidja missile, or the image of the golden calf. So let's go to the top, and let's begin right here. This is Exodus chapter 32, verse 35, and it reads, And when the people saw that Moses, he delayed to come down out of the mount. No doubt you recall, whether you've seen it in the movies or you're maybe somewhat familiar, Moses goes up to the mountain to get the laws from God on the mountain. There's thunders, there's lightnings, all right, which are signs of God, but not really explained in the modern way that we will look at it. What is causing? Is it just a storm, or is there some extraterrestrial? There's some other superimposition at this particular time. We'll touch on that as well. So the people, the children of Israel, the Beit Israel, as well as the mixed multitude, remember those are mixed multitude, and these particular terminologies must be explained a little bit better. So we have the children of Israel, we have the Hebrews. Remember when the God that revealed himself or itself to Moses revealed itself, it said that it is the God of the Hebrews. Often we hear the Jewish God, or we hear even the God of Israel, but that's not how the God identifies himself, all right? So we have the children of the Hebrews, we have the Hebrew children, we have the Beit Israel, and we have this mixed multitude. So we need to define, well, who are these people in relation with the context of ancient Egypt based on the available data and information that we have today. So anyway, verse 1 of chapter 32, and when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, so he spent longer than they expected, the people gathered themselves together to Aaron and said to him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us, for as for this Moses, this particular Moses, this is interesting, this Moses, what kind of language is that? This Moses. It's like saying, as for this president, or this leader, or this brother, or that brother, this is the sort of language. Because see, in the Ethiopic, Muse, Moses or Muse, is actually a title, head of a fraternal order in the Ethiopic, Muse. All right, take a note of that as well. So this will explain, and this will agree with this context right here. This Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. In other words, we don't know what has happened to him because he hasn't returned. He hasn't come down. Now, this is another translation from the NET right here that kind of brings this more out. They add fellow here, but they say, and fellow is a brother, for this brother Moses, this brother Muse, this Wenda Muse, right, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt. We do not know what has become, in other words, what has happened to him. So now, here we have the Hebrew, right, the Hebrew of it, but let's just deal with the basic English King James translation firstly and foremostly. So it says, and Aaron said to them, break off the golden earrings. So they had golden earrings. So they were wearing earrings, right, which are in the ears of your wives and of your sons and of your daughters, and bring them to me. So the males, the females, and the wives all had earrings, golden earrings, right? So he said, break them off. In other words, break them off. Break off a piece, like break it off, right? And the people break off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron or Aaron. So they brought all the gold to him. Verse 4, and he received them at their hand and fashioned it with a what? A gravening tool. Right, a gravening tool. Now remember, the difference between the Hebrews, in the sense that the religion or the way of the Hebrews and the Egyptians of that period of time, was that the Hebrew interpretation, because we have to remember the similarity of symbolism. The symbolism of ancient Egypt was clearly known to Moses. He was learned in all the mysteries. You understand? He was learned, so this was clearly known to him. So when we look at these images, do we know what he knew? And do we see it the way he sees it? And we need to use the scriptures and the available data to begin to piece this once again together. So he fashioned with a gravening tool after he had made a what? Molten calf. And they said, these. This is interesting. He didn't say this. But he said, these be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. So he fashioned this. So let's see if we can get an accurate picture, accurate picture of this. I think we have some images here on file that we can bring up that can give us an accurate image. Though there's a lot of images of the golden calf in circulation, but what we are looking for is an accurate image. Remember, it's a golden calf. Often what gets shown to people is a so-called golden cow. All right, what usually gets to be shown to people is a golden cow. What we're looking for is an image that would be of the so-called golden calf. Let's see what, this is some NIBIRU images. We don't want to go ahead of ourselves right here. Let's see if we have this right here. Moses, 12th dynasty, Egypt, a very interesting file as well. Okay, here we go, over here. We have it over here. So what's often shown is a cow. However, from our research, this will be the more accurate image of what the golden calf, remember it's not a cow, but it's a calf,